Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities may be available for today. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Right, so starting off on the daily, it's Friday today, we have EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. So what's the daily showing us? Well, yesterday we had that bearish candle, right? We closed out as a bearish day finally after all of this bullish momentum, and on our inverse EU, of course, we had a nice bullish close as well. So as I had explained in yesterday's video, we had mitigated plenty of buy side liquidity above this high and some previous highs here. We had closed this daily imbalance, right? Daily imbalance fill is what that means there. We also saw some SMC divergence from this low to this higher low and this high to this higher high, right? Indicating possible strength on DXY because it wasn't making lower lows where EU was making higher highs. So into today, we've still got our previous daily highs and lows for buy side and sell side liquidity, and we do have further daily imbalances below, more down into a discount that price could possibly be drawn into. So we're still up here in a premium on the daily, right? And we did leave behind loads of imbalances, so price structure will still be bullish, but we may get further continuations of that bearish price action because we did leave behind so many imbalances on the daily. So we'll see if that happens. May or may not happen today, obviously. So we'll have to look into the lower time frame, see what that structure is showing us. We have the same imbalances left behind still on DXY, which would be on side for possibly more bearish behavior and pullbacks on EU, right? So let's move on to the 4 hour and see what that looks like. So on to the 4 hour, again, we still have our bullish leg, right? From this low to this high here that filled that daily imbalance above these previous highs and mitigated that buy side liquidity. We had our bearish day yesterday, right? So previous daily highs and lows. And if we look at this price action here, even though it was bullish and overall on the daily it looks very bullish, if I just analyze the candles, it's fairly corrective, right? There's quite a lot of candles to make this movement here. So possibly this sort of trend line here will be used as sell side liquidity if we do continue down to target these imbalances which we left behind on the daily chart, right, during that bullish momentum. So there are some lows here that could be targeted for the imbalances if we do continue bearish. So I do think it looks good for a sell side liquidity trend line. Now if we look at today's price action, if I zoom in just slightly, we did leave behind this imbalance here. Overnight we've pulled back and we've filled this area here. So I don't think we look particularly bullish, but obviously this is overnight price action. We've only just come into the London Open and it's a Friday, so there isn't loads of momentum in either direction just yet, but we have the potential for this to become some sort of resistance, right, after filling this imbalance overnight and into today. A few things to point out. We did lastly take sell side liquidity, of course, below this previous daily low candle. We just spiked into it and that's where price reversed for overnight. So that's what that X is for, sell side liquidity there. Though on the higher time frame, we obviously closed a major high time frame POI and mitigated loads of buy side liquidity. So this may have just sponsored this pullback. However, just to remember, we last took sell side liquidity from the higher time frame, so we're going to need some internal buy side liquidity at least, right, if we're looking for possible continuations of the bearish behavior. So we've clearly gone up above this candle, so we've definitely swept something this morning which may be driving this bearish price. Now another thing to note, when we took this sell side liquidity, we didn't sweep above that same candle high, so the previous daily high was just missed on DXY. So is that a signal of DXY is going to continue bearish because of that lower high, right, showing some sort of possible weakness on DXY? Or is it just what motivated this pullback to fill this imbalance, all right, the same as above? So price could find its feet here and continue to go for these imbalances above, right, up and towards a premium on DXY, okay, because it is the same as EU with this sort of trend line here. this is definitely an important area here for today and here on DXY, just to see if price is going to continue bearish at all. So we're still in a premium, okay, we've still, these imbalances and stuff are still in play, right? I think we just need to see the lower time frame. It's obviously not as fresh as it was yesterday, where we had just taken these imbalances and mitigated that buy side liquidity. But I do think the market still has motivation to go lower with all of these imbalances on DXY and EU that it may want to fill to balance the market. So I hope that's understood. I hope I was clear. So let's go down to the 1 hour and see what that shows us and see where our bias may be. So zooming in on 1 hour price action, how's it making me feel? We had the day before yesterday, this bullish leg here, right? And we had swept some internal buy side liquidity on news, and now we've broke down. We did sweep below that low. I could probably get rid of this fib now, right? Because technically now we have created a new sort of lower high to lower low here on the hourly. Obviously we closed it as a sweep. However, now we've potentially made that lower low and pulled back to this 1 hour order block that I've drawn out here, okay? And price seems like it may be rejecting it now on the London Open after sweeping above these highs. So this would probably be Asia's highs, right? You can see this candle has swept above that, maybe swept above Frankfurt as well in London, and now we're breaking down with some momentum. So that looks great to me to continue. Obviously, as I mentioned on the 4 hour, the negative we have is that high wasn't taken out. We didn't make the higher high, okay? So we had that SMC divergence, but price has pulled back, and we do have things on side with this 1 hour POI, buy side liquidity swept internally, and this 1 hour candle giving that bearish momentum, and this looks like it'll be a lower time frame sort of sell side liquidity trend line. So we are just waiting for structure potentially on the lower time frame to continue with this new bearish order flow, okay? So in terms of higher time frame sell side liquidity last taken, we have pulled back to here, and if we hold this area and break structure to the downside, I'll just see this as a weak low, right? Because sweeping this low didn't make us make a higher high, okay? So it'd be a weak low, sell side liquidity target ultimately, and it will mitigate the con of this sell side liquidity on a higher time frame being taken yesterday, because for me that pullback would have just met resistance and broken down again. So I don't believe it has the motivation to go and make a new higher high. So I hope that's clear what I'm saying. Let me know in the comments if not. So that's how I'm reading this 1 hour price action. I am biased towards shorts, okay, with this POI on side, this potentially new bearish 1 hour leg, right? We have more imbalances and draws on price below towards a discount, of course, and this POI with internal buy side liquidity possibly is being swept, and just awaiting a break of structure to target this trend line previous daily low. So I think that all seems good. We don't have much news today, especially not in London. I think there's no news until the NY session. Okay, so favoring shorts. So let's go down to the M15 and see what opportunities we may have for today. So on the M15, right, what do we have in this price action? Well, yesterday we have this trade that I pointed out in my video, and it played out. Of course, there were some cons that I wasn't really willing to trade against. There's a 1 hour POI here, and it was against trend. So I wanted to get a continuation, right? And one didn't come, but that played out nicely, which is good to see. This would have been the continuation I was looking for, because price didn't break down that well after, right, until New York session. So when it broke down here, I was hoping for a pullback to this M15 order block, so then I could continue that trend lower. However, that didn't happen. So what we have today here is this potential order block still in play, which is within the 1 hour order block, which is why I mentioned this price action from yesterday, right? Because we still have another break of structure here, okay? So where we pulled up, we broke that low and this low here with momentum, and then overnight we've pulled up very correctively into Asia. We've got inducement here. London has swept Asia and Frankfurt. Now it doesn't need to go into this M15 order block here. It can continue breaking down, but it's there potentially if price was to pull back again now here and come into this area. It may use it as an order block to go further and go bearish. Now, as I said, I really do like this sell side liquidity trend line we have going on here. I think that looks good to target at the moment. We did this nice typical Asia buy side liquidity range here, went down, came back up, swept that liquidity, which is what I've got the X for. So let me zoom in again slightly. Now what am I waiting for? Well, I'm waiting for price to possibly continue and break these lows. I'd like to see a good break below this low here. So that's an M15 break of structure. And then potentially a corrective pullback to this order block here. I tend to use the top candle because from my data, we usually pull back into the last candle. Sometimes you get missed because it will just mitigate a lot lower because this whole thing here is an order block, which is unfortunate, but it does happen. So we have that potential corrective pullback to our lower time frame order block with imbalance, right? When this candle closes out, leaving an imbalance behind, we'll have our momentum, but I do want to see that good break of structure below this low here, okay, which we currently may be doing. So break of structure, sweep of buy side liquidity internally, and it will be with the Asia cycle as well because London has swept the top of Asia, so we usually head for the other side, okay. So possible inducement, entry above the daily open as well, stop loss just above the high. Obviously there's a slight negative of this M15 order block above, price may head towards it, but as long as we break down in a nice momentum way, leave behind this order block, I still think it's worth trading even with this negative above because we have mitigated this 1 hour POI and we are sort of going with our new trend. Another negative would be that yes, we did sweep high time frame sell side liquidity, but it mitigates it somewhat once we start breaking down on the M15 because it shows the possible direction of price. And then you can target previous daily low or wherever your target from your plan is. Mine would just be around 3%, right? Get out around there, and that's what I would be looking for this morning. I want to see this break of structure continue as well on DXY, pull back to here to go and target its previous daily high as well. So everything so far seems to be playing out as expected. This would be my number one opportunity for this morning. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully it just doesn't go without us, right? And we can get into this trade and it plays out. So I hope that was clear. I hope that gave value. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.